Welcome to Second Viewing. New look, same great taste. I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
Shaka bra. All right, guys, this is it. Welcome to part 3 of the 2.5 Men 3-part series talking about all 262 episodes in which we watched in just under a month. Our goal was for 1 month.
Yeah, about 28 days, guys. Now, we've dedicated our summer to this, to the second viewing, to the fans, to anyone who's donated to us on Patreon. So
just any supporter in general. Anyone who's ever watched a video of ours, liked a photo, followed us on anything. We honestly, it means the world to us. We've been doing this for just over 6 months now, and it's been a lot of fun for us. And anyways, so 2.5 Men was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. That being said, in my back of my mind was like, I'm doing this for the TSV. And it's just,
for the cause. For the cause.
Let's roll with it that way.
We're going to talk about the last 4 seasons of the show, which just happened to be the Kutcher years. But just to sum up the 4 seasons, let's give them a title. So number 9, the intro. It's where the Kutch comes to life. Number 10, it's all about Alan. Number 11, Jake's fucking gone, dude. So it's basically kind of about a romance between Kutcher and Alan.
We also got a daughter vibe.
We got a daughter vibe that shows up. That's a good point. And then number 12, all about adopting a kid. So I know your mind's probably going crazy.
Whoa,
like,
spoiler alerts on a show that ended a year and a half ago.
Whatever.
Chill, dude, on that.
Fuck.
Okay. You're right, though. Let's leave Sheen on the sidelines, just as this show does.
Let's jump right in.
And, should we talk about Sheen just for half a second?
Okay, so the story is Sheen went a little media crazy. He went a little drug crazy. He was definitely not sober.
He was banging. He was banging.
Some 12-gram rocks.
Some 12-gram rocks.
And then he was also bi-winning, and what else was it? Tiger Blood?
There was Tiger Blood, and also just winning. Like, winning.
Oh, yeah. Winning, bi-winning, Tiger Blood, banging 12-gram rocks. So we've covered that. And then he said some racist shit to Chuck Lorre, the director and
anti-Semitic
producer.
for being specific.
Exactly.
So the guy was a piece of shit, essentially, and just crazy bones. But so he got fired from the show, and they kind of didn't hesitate to keep the show running. Obviously, there's 4 more seasons. That's why we're here talking to you right now. Mm-hmm. And we bring in Ashton Kutcher as his replacement, essentially.
Bring in the Kutch. So his introduction's kind of unique. It kind of sums up his whole vibe in the beginning, which is basically he's been taken care of since high school by his high school sweetheart. Now Bridget.
Great girl.
Now he attempts to kill himself in the ocean, drown himself, but it was too cold. So he came up to the beach house we all know very well.
That's a classic 2.5 Men goof and calf.
That's true. Where Alan is there. And he proceeds to have a conversation with Alan about it, wants Alan to stay around and wants to buy the house.
And this is following right after Charlie's funeral.
Yes. The episode opens with his funeral.
Yeah, it opens with his funeral in which some former lovers are kind of essentially mocking a dead person in the crowd. It's natural 2.5 Men humor.
Yeah, it also is really just mocking Sheen as a person.
Right, I mean, they
life.
literally killed him in the show. They killed him off, and he dies in Paris. Oh, stupid fucking side plot.
Falls in front of a train.
Yeah, he's in Paris with Rose because at the end of season 8, if anyone watched last episode, we talked about how they run off to Paris together because they have this weird romance.
They honeymoon it up.
Which I want to bring something up later. I have a question for you, but we'll get that in a little bit. So that's how they open up the show, and they kind of just essentially kill Sheen off. And as Alan is holding his brother's ashes in an urn, he drops them at the site of Walden Schmidt appearing at his window.
So we also find out that Walden Schmidt, a.k.a. the Kutch,
Mad Kutch,
is a sort of tech billionaire, a Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, he's a Zuckerberg, kind of like a young Steve Jobs, I guess, kind of thing. We don't really know what he does exactly. Like, he developed some software in college.
He developed something that Microsoft bought, and then it later didn't work, but he was glad to have sold it to Microsoft or some shit.
Yeah, he made a bunch of money. He's a billionaire sort of thing. He's just made of money, but he's a young billionaire.
Like mid-20s, late 20s maybe is kind of the vibe we get, I think.
Like 20s-ish. But anyway, so he appears, and he essentially very fast, at a very fast rate, he just kind of takes over Sheen's position in the show, in the house, where he decides to buy the house. He decides to hire Berta as his the housekeeper, and he also befriends Alan because since he is going through this divorce, Alan decides to kind of give him advice. And honestly, as much as I hate Alan, he didn't really because Alan does this thing where he likes to take over the situation. He kind of was just genuinely giving him advice, and they built a friendship off that.
So
it wasn't as forced as it could have been. It was still. I mean, the show's not good, but we're just We're the second viewing. We talk things in depth. That's what we're doing for you guys. So bear with us.
Basically, Kutcher tends to make Alan a little bit better. Now, that being said, I don't think there's stuff that happens in season 9, but nothing super major. It's basically just the Kutcher getting used to the whole crowd that we're used to in 2.5 Men. So Berta being around, the same old jokes come back between them. So he's kind of just falling into a Charlie Sheen role, but changing it a bit. He's got his own take on it. He's not the fucking huge ladies man. I mean, he's been married his whole life and only slept with one girl up until we meet him. And
he kind of takes on this younger, slightly better looking version of Sheen, right?
Yeah.
And it's that's what they keep talking about it. Everyone around him is just enamored by him and thinks he's beautiful and whatever. It's literally every girl around Kutcher is falls in love with him, sort of thing.
Yeah. 100%.
Which is very similar to Sheen, although to be fair, Sheen kind of struggled with that. He was always hiring prostitutes. He got shut down once or twice. Kutcher never gets shut down.
No, it's true. But we also see sort of something that ties into that is he's at the bar one night and he hits on some girl, says his name. Girl says no, goes to the washroom, Googles his name, comes back instantly and says, hey, how about that drink? Because she now realizes he's rich and famous. So I don't think it's 100% based on his looks or his age. It's also that he's a billionaire. It's the combination.
He's a bit of a celebrity to an extent.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got that tandem combo, a bunch of bucks, and you're kind of a hunk.
Yeah, boom. You're a done deal. You're a done deal at that point.
There it is. So
you're bobbing for knobs. It's just how it's rocking.
You're bobbing for knobs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that kind of really sums up season 9. I mean, one thing I do want to bring up is that Charlie Sheen comes back in the form of Kathy Bates.
Which I enjoy this part because this is a 10 degrees of separation for the second viewing where Kathy Bates was in Midnight in Paris.
Yeah, she also played in Midnight in Paris. So if you haven't seen our Midnight in Paris cast, go check that out.
You might be able to find it on the pro-Trump Reddit page.
Subreddit page, if you check the pro-Trump subreddit.
So please tune into that.
We're taking no political stances. We're just getting the word out there about the cast.
Yeah, honestly, we just want to spread the word. Anyways, very besides the point, but I do think it's funny how 2.5 Men has taken over our lives and eventually crept into Midnight in Paris. But yeah, so we see, but yeah, you're right. The entire season is just basically about Walden, really, pretty much, and how, him and his soon-to-be ex-wife, how they're getting divorced, and how he starts dating this woman, Zoe, who's kind of very much his opposite, and they kind of level each other out. And I actually really like Zoe overall. She's okay.
I did until the end, but really doesn't matter.
We'll get into that, and it's really silly. Any relationship in the show never ends in a way that makes any sense. But anyways, yeah, they're just kind of explaining Walden's place in the show for the most of the episode.
Yeah, most of the season is him fitting into it. I personally don't think Zoe is. She's not that great towards the end, you find out, but whatever. She's a really posh.
In this season, I kind of liked her.
Yeah,
because they don't ever write. They try to write characters well, but they never leave them exiting well ever.
That's true.
They just dip them out.
Yeah.
Case in point,
just drop
Jenny McCarthy when they just decide that we don't want to have sex together anymore. Bye.
Yeah.
Left.
Never see her
again.
But I want to continue with the Kathy Bates. So Kathy Bates shows up towards the end of season 9 when Alan's faking his death in order to stay longer in the beach house, trying to convince Alan to. Basically, Kathy Bates is the reincarnation or the ghost of Charlie Sheen in hell. Now, in hell, he was supposedly given a different body because, I don't know, as a punishment or whatever the fuck. I kind of think it's stupid.
Oh, well, it's ridiculous. I mean, this is sadly not the only time they kind of fake Charlie Sheen being in the show.
Well, they take any opportunity to take shots at Charlie Sheen, whether it's in they taking shots at him in the show or taking shots at him in real life.
And for the next 4 seasons, they do it. And in season 9, I don't remember being terribly prominent, but I felt like it got worse as it went on.
Yeah, it definitely did. Well, I mean, I think it's easy to see the formula of the 2.5 Men. We've talked about in previous episodes how there's always the Jake fart jokes, there's always the Alan staying around the beach house jokes, and there's always the Charlie fucking anything that moves and getting drunk jokes. But I think it's safe to say that we've added in a fourth category of joke, and that is making fun of Charlie Sheen jokes.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. The whole show is kind of this like... Well, for one thing, it's a new show, in my mind. It's a completely different show at this point.
It is, yeah. Things are a lot different.
Obviously, the same characters are there. Like 99% of the same characters are there. And there's a different storyline to a degree, but it's completely different.
It feels different.
It feels different, 100%.
And it really is. I mean, as we move towards the end of season 10, really...
Things start to maybe be a little bit reminiscent.
It's more of a 2 men vibe than it is a 2.5 men.
We'll get there right away, but season 9 ends with, you were saying, Alan faking his death. And as he comes out of the hospital, everyone decides to comfort him with gifts and, just praise for, not dying, essentially, because they were very worried about his health. And he starts to think, people actually care about me. Because no one should care about this guy. He's literally the worst.
No one cares about him until he almost dies.
It's kind of like... And then he exploits that. And that's why he's the worst character I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah. Let's jump into season 10 before we take a break here. Because there's a couple of things we should cover.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Jake is trying to get a job.
Well, should we power through 10 and then take a break afterwards and do 11 and 12?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the end of 9 just ends with Alan kind of being solidified in the house because Walden really feels responsible for his health, and he's like, "Hey, you can stay here now. You're a permanent member of the family or the household, whatever you want to say." Because before that, he was just saying, "You're a good friend to me, so you can stay as long as you want, but you're not a guest, I guess, or you're not a roommate." Sorry, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Anyways, and in the meantime, he's still taking things seriously with Zoe, and he's considering having her and her daughter Ava stay with him in the house, and that concludes season 9, essentially, and at this point, we have Walden solidified as a character.
Yeah.
So, moving into 10, it's kind of this thing where Alan becomes the entire show. Yeah, and it's probably the worst season of the Kutcher years.
Yeah, exactly. It focuses very heavily on Alan's relationship with Lindsay. It focuses really heavily on kind of Jake getting a job or doing something. Then there's also this whole...
Well, they do a fair amount to try to bring Walden's past into, where they bring in his ex best friend and partner into the show, where
that happens in 11, no?
That happens in 10 because that's when they hire Jake to be a monitor of the servers, him and Aldrich.
Right.
Yeah, right. So around the beginning of season 10, he shows up as just kind of out of the blue, and immediately Walden's
the best friend of Walden's. Yeah,
he's pissed off because they had issues working together in the past, and he doesn't want him to be a part of his life or his career.
It's exactly an Apple vibe. It's a Steve Jobs vibe. They made a company.
Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs, that whole story. Which, by the way, if you want to check out our Steve Jobs podcast, please check that out. It's episode.
It's too many plugins
12.
Right now. Right?
I'll plug anything, dude. I don't know what anything plug-in. I try to plug in this thing on the audio interface here. I don't know what's going on. By the way, if you don't notice our headphones, it's because we're doing this solo dolo here today.
We're missing our main man, Drew, but a little shaka bra to him.
Huge shaka. DJ Fitz exclusive. He's, it's one of those things where we already appreciate him, but we appreciate him even more once he's gone because we don't know a thing. If you're listening to this right now, it's a godsend because we don't really know what we're doing. But we know how to set up a camera. We're more visual guys.
We're visual guys, 100%.
Anyways, huge segue there. But
let's continue on. So basically, the tech billionaire Walden Schmidt's best friend, Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs' situation is they created a company in a garage. They was very successful. They sold it. And then they parted ways because they kind of went separate paths. One became, a drug addict, and the other did whatever, got married, stayed married to Bridget, whatever the fuck. So they come back together. They bring him back, and they want to get and the guy who sort of got addicted to drugs, the best friend to Walden, wants to build another company with him.
Right.
So they come together, sort of like poking. Yeah, the electric suitcase, which had.
They don't even really talk about what it means. I mean, they can just like
shutting off power to certain parts of the...
Or providing power to different parts of the world and monitoring power source. I don't really know.
Yeah,
They don't elaborate on it at all, and out of nowhere they have an entire office and business. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So basically they build some fucking company together, so there's a little bit of scenes in the office, and you can tell that Walden's sort of like not just hanging around at home anymore, which is, in my mind, maybe one of the things that started to change the show for me, because Charlie never really worked. He might have sat in front of the piano for like a song.
Which, to be fair, when those bits were happening in earlier seasons, they were kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, well, wow, dude. Maybe not funny.
Kinda.
Things are getting dark here.
Well, funny in comparison to what happens in any other seasons.
Okay, well, interesting, right? Like, at least something was happening, it felt like. And all of those, like, bits about what, like, different commercials he was writing for were always kind of like, you could compare it to, like, a Fruit Loops or, like, another product, a real-life product.
It was like he was somewhat progressing.
Right, and I think you're right, like, bringing Walden Schmidt's character into, like, his actual workplace. And, I mean, like, they talk about actual, like... tech stuff, and we're big fans of like Silicon Valley, so that show obviously like makes this thing look like a pile of shit because it doesn't make any sense half the things they're talking about or how they get a business up in like a minute and like they build a server tower. Like, all these things make no sense. I know he's a billionaire and he has all the money in the world, but even then it doesn't make any sense.
So all the while this is going on, Jake's looking for a job because he's graduated high school and he needs to find a fucking job because he's definitely not going to college. So him and Aldrich, which is Lindsay's son, are looking desperately. Alan begs Walden to give both of them a job at his company.
And at this point, Walden's a little bit in a rough spot because him and Zoe have recently just broken up.
Right.
He proposed to her, and she said no as Michael Bolton was singing a song to them at like some sort of fancy restaurant. He blew up fireworks and all this. By the way, Michael Bolton shows up way too many times in the show.
Fucking like 5 times.
Since when was Michael Bolton like a meme? When was he like a funny thing? I don't get it.
I don't think he's a funny thing.
But the show makes it seem like he is.
Well, it's only because of the laugh track.
Which, by the way, they actually changed the opening theme music, and it ruins the entire thing.
Yeah.
I was trying to get used to it. I was okay with it. We'd be singing along, men, men, men. Then they go in and change Kutcher's part, or Sheen's part to Kutcher's thing, and it makes no sense.
It's shitty. He's just got a shitty voice.
Do you think it's his voice?
Well, something about it's not right. So I'm going to say it's his voice.
All right. I'm not into it. Anyways.
Whatever. They give fucking Jake and Aldrich a job.
Yeah, he's down on his... Yeah, like, Walden's kind of down on his luck, but he still wants to help his buddy out and kind of, like, start things over, I guess. That's the thing. Every season's always, like, a revamp to some degree. They always start a whole new thing. Someone leaves, a love interest leaves, a character leaves, something ends. It's always a restart.
New company, there's this. And at this, at the end of the show, you realize nothing's really changed. They're still in the same spot they were to fucking begin with. I think,
sadly, that's supposed to be the joke, but it's not funny. It's stupid.
It's not good. The whole show was so stupid.
Okay, so anyways, Jake and Aldrich essentially fuck up this job because they don't know how to monitor a server, and they accidentally, or not accidentally,
they download a bunch of porn.
Download a bunch of porn, which is natural because they paint these guys to be like just the worst, like, I guess, teenager guys, like stupid, like down on their luck, don't know how to hold a job, just like ditzy guys. It's like it's just really boring. It's really honestly lazy, like writing. Mm-hmm. And after Walden's like kind of struggling, I guess, to find I can't believe I even consider the show's real like content and like whatever. He's struggling to find a girl, and he ends up having a connection with Rose.
Right.
So as he's as he's kind of what would you say, like dating Rose, I guess?
Yeah, or seeing her. Don't they have sex right away? I can't remember.
Something like that, yeah. And then the whole time there's this joke of Alan being like, you better be careful, she's crazy. And like, it's this whole thing. Then eventually it gets to the point where Zoe actually is like, oh, do you want to get back together? I think we can work things out again, kind of thing. And Walden's like, yeah, whatever. I still love you, this and this. And then it turns out that Rose decides that they're actually going to move in together. And as he's trying to break things off with Rose, she's moved all her things inside. And then he breaks off with her, and then a bunch of ferrets attack him. And it's this great slapstick comedy moment where we got 6 just hilarious ferrets beating up Walden's face. And it just so happens that as Zoe arrives at the house. Rose is there unpacking, so they don't get together, and Walden ends up alone at the end of the episode, and it's just this really funny thing.
It's a good look.
That's the whole show in a nutshell, really. Like, it's always like, maybe one good thing's going to happen, someone does one bad thing, and then nothing good happens. Oh. I almost feel for Walden just because he's not nearly as shitty as a person as any other character. And I'll get to that a little bit later because he ends up being the only character I think I like.
But for the time being, I think it's time to take a quick break.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back just finishing off 10, seeing what happens at the end of the season so we can work our way into 11. But yeah, we're going to take a break here, guys. So please stay tuned. We got a lot of great discussion here about good old 2.5 Men. Great comedy. Big Bang Theory's up next. So we'll talk to you guys later.
And we're back.
All right, guys. So we're just going to quickly wrap up season 10 here. So in season 10, we have Jake actually joining the army, which is kind of how he, in my mind, leaves the show before he actually leaves the show. I feel like they were trying to write his character off even before it happened.
It's kind of like he slowly dissipated from the show. Now, we mentioned that he fucked up the job with Walden. So him and Aldrich, his friend, the son of Lindsay's.
One of the dumbasses, by the way.
One of the dumbasses. They end up signing up for the army. So the only little bits of Jake that we see throughout season 11 are his Skype calls.
Which is so prevalent. There's Skype everywhere in the show.
There's a lot of Skype that goes on.
Skype happens now. And I would always get freaked out hearing that little Skype signal coming in. I'd be like, whoa.
Is that me?
Whoa. Is that me? Oh.
Yeah. What's going on?
Every time it wasn't, but anyways. So Jake's kind of just always Skyping and talking about his army adventures. He's kind of working in the kitchen or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's pretty pointless, honestly, to be completely honest with you. Quick side note also is just we get introduced to a character named Kate, and there's this weird subplot where Walden pretends to be another man in order to start dating a more like down-to-earth girl who's not worried about his money.
Right. He's sick of dating rich girls who are worried about status. He wants to date someone that's just like an average person, whatever. So he goes to the mall, meets this girl at the mall, fakes his name, and I don't know, the lie sticks, essentially.
We only bring it up because she actually comes back, and it's kind of a little bit important for the next season, so it's not a huge deal, but again, like, this season is all about Alan. The Walden bits were somewhat interesting, I guess. At least they tried different things with him, which I can appreciate. And literally the end of the season ends with Alan and Lindsay breaking up for, like, the 20th time, it feels like. And it ends with the two guys kind of hanging out alone, just trying to hang out how they met. That's how Also, last episode of season 10, has Hilary Duff. Great cameo.
Hilary Duff.
Duff, whatever you're up to, like, please tweet at us. We want to know what Lizzie's doing.
And Walden fucks an older girl. It's a classic Charlie Sheen look. He did that once.
Charlie. Speaking of Charlie Sheen, getting into season 11, we get the daughter of Charlie Sheen, known as Jenny.
That's right.
Charlie Harper, I guess. Sorry.
Charlie Harper, our bad.
I always still think it's weird that his name is Charlie in the show. It's a little bit weird.
I think he fought for that.
You think he fought for that?
I think so.
Do you think that means he's like kind of like that in real life? I mean, I guess obviously he is.
He's got
to be tiger blood. Fair enough. All right, so we get Jenny, and she is exactly like she's the female version of Charlie. She's a lesbian. She's always having girls over every night.
And everyone generally loves her.
And she's pretty. I mean, overall, she's an okay character. She's fine.
She's not that bad. She reminds me of Charlie Sheen. Like, she does a good job of it.
I feel like a lot of the jokes they wrote for her were like either like old jokes they had for Charlie or something like that.
Very potentially. Now she gets the go ahead and stay whenever you want card from Walden. She gets the go ahead and stay whenever you want card from Charlie's mom, Evelyn.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think she ends up getting her own place.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, well, you're right. She does get her own place eventually. That's kind of just horseshoed in. That might come.
Oh no, wait. She's living at the guest house of Evelyn's.
Oh God,
yeah, Evelyn has a guest house.
Yeah,
and that was a little joke. Alan was kind of like, she has a guest house? Fuck.
And more, I guess, off-screen information. The reason Jenny is a character, essentially, is because Jake was kind of, I guess, fired, essentially, or he quit the show. He quit the show because Tyler J. Angus, whatever his name is, sorry, dude. Whatever, you can fact check it. He quits the show and made this actually somewhat viral video of him talking about how the show is hedonistic and evil and is corrupting the youth and it's a negative environment to be in and how he's kind of found God and he doesn't think the show relates to his newfound values and all these things. he made a big stink and essentially quits the show because, honestly, though, I kind of think the guy's probably telling the truth. I don't think that 2.5 Men environment is a good one.
Well, I don't think growing up throughout, like, imagine being him, growing up making that. It's just constant jokes about drinking and fucking.
Yeah, like being on any show.
Overly exposed to that as a kid's probably not a good, like, a little here and there, whatever. I think it's a part of life, so it's not a big deal knowing it when you're a kid, picking up on some of it. But to grow up hearing that shit, making those jokes, contributing to those jokes.
That's gotta like fuck with your head a bit. Because I mean, even growing up as any like child star on any show is probably, I'm sure, difficult, kind of weird. It's not your normal childhood, obviously, but you're right. Like a show like this is not fucking right, which makes the show kind of seem a little child abusive. So I don't know about that.
Whoa, little shocker, bro. Maybe TJ, you can take out a child abuse case, get some money. You know what? Well, we'd be happy to only take about 5 or 10%.
Yeah, we'll do 7. We'll be nice with that.
Yeah.
All right. So
no compromise action.
But getting a little bit more into 11, it's really It's kind of like that solidified point where they were able to kind of find the formula.
The formula, yeah.
Similar to season 3, you could say.
Yeah,
which is arguably the best season. I would say this is also arguably the best season in the Kutcher years.
Exactly. So this one's where everything's a little bit more constant. Kutcher tones down Alan's douchiness a little bit. Jake's out of the show, but is replaced by a half decent fucking. Daughter of Charlie Sheen.
Right.
She's half decent. She's not around too much. Jokes aren't too forced. Berta's around. It just kind of seems like back to basics for a little bit.
Kind of works. And also we see Walden kind of like, he has his own character now, which is kind of cool, I guess. A lot of things have changed.
He's dating. He's doing some shit at work. He's trying to work on a new tech company. He's back in a garage working for a smaller firm for a person that actually used to work for him a long time ago.
So that's when we kind of see that progress, is where he actually ends up helping kicks like a startup company.
Yeah, he's helping a startup. He's working on a low-end project. He's not fucking sitting in a prim and proper office. He's back in the garage, like, grinding with these people.
Yeah, which is respect. And at that point, when things kind of go south and the technology they're developing kind of is wanted elsewhere, he actually enlists Barry, who's actually a great actor. I love the guy. He's hilarious. And also probably one of the best characters on the show, if not the best.
Potentially the best.
He's just a way better Jake, basically. That's how they make him out to be. And he stays and asks Walden if he can help him with his just kind of main company, I guess, the electric suitcase. They never really actually make it clear what it is.
Yeah.
But you used to assume that. And he stays around, and Berta even makes a joke saying, "Oh, welcome back, Jake." Again, poking fun at the guy who left the show. Just kind of digging deeper holes. They're just making fun of...
That's what the show does, man. Just like
it's all negative energy.
Pushes people to its bounds and makes fun of them.
We do get a cooler character, I guess. Brooke, who is Jenny's girlfriend, played by Ali McCalca, also known as the chick from Phil of the Future. So great time there.
Yeah, that's right.
She's pretty cool. She's funny. She doesn't call... I don't know, actually...
She's not around for long, to be honest.
But she does this thing where she doesn't call back Jenny, and Jenny's freaking out because everyone always calls her back or whatever.
It's kind of Jenny's, it's like her first, relationship where she's on the same level as someone else.
Which is such a Charlie thing, which kind of works in a way.
Exactly.
It makes you miss Charlie a little bit.
But it also brings back enough Charlie that you don't have to miss him too much.
It's a really good point.
So... I don't know. Not a lot happens in season 11, actually. It's just kind of back to basics. Everything's good.
We also get Alan, though, doing another lying thing. That's so weird because that happens a lot in this four seasons thing where, Walden lies about his name, and then the next season, one season later, Alan lies about his name again to Lindsay's current boyfriend and calls himself Jeff Strongman.
That's right. So this is kind of like he's still involved with Lindsay on the sidelines, but she's dating another guy. So they have this secret bang session going on right now.
It's really strange, and Alan is really into it at first, and then he decides he still wants to be with Lindsay. So he tries to get to know the guy she's dating, and he makes up a fake persona, and he's such a scumbag. He's still seeing this girl behind this guy he becomes good buddies with back.
Yeah.
And they make him out to seem like a really nice dude or whatever. And then it gets to the point where he ends up actually seeing his sister, Lindsay's new boyfriend's sister, and is still lying about his name and his identity really entirely.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so stupid.
So there's a whole rigmarole with Lindsay. Lindsay by the end of the season, and we never catch wind of this. It's only at the beginning of season 12 that we hear about the fact that Lindsay has gone to rehab. It's sort of a surprise thing, but we never question it. We're kind of like, of course.
Because the season ends with this kind of thing where Alan actually confronts Lindsay's new boyfriend's sister, saying that he's, I'm actually Alan, and they start dating, and he proposes to her, and they're gonna get married, and Lindsay freaks out because she's not marrying her current boyfriend anymore. Her ex-boyfriend's marrying another woman, and she ends up at their house drunk in her old wedding dress, causing a ruckus. And then at the last minute, Alan doesn't get married because the woman he was going to marry's old boyfriend shows up, who's played by the country singer Brad Paisley. The show makes no fucking sense. It's so ridiculous. This is where things were getting like, all right, the show's fucking dumb again. I shouldn't have gave it any hope.
And then fucking Miley Cyrus shows up.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. That's in season 10, sadly. Jake's still around then. Oh, God, yeah, we should bring that up. Miley Cyrus is around.
She's around in season 10.
Miley Cyrus shows up as a character known as Missy. She has a very, country-like accent. Or very, you could say hick accent, I guess.
It's like a Texan accent, a Deep South accent or something like that.
It's really silly, and it's really outrageous, and I don't even know, dude. Her and Jake have a thing, and it's really weird, actually, looking back at it now. And when Jake goes to the army, he actually comes back just to see Missy one more time. Even talking about the stuff out loud really depresses me. It's like how I now have so much knowledge of 2.5 Men. It's kind of sad.
It is sad.
But yeah, you're right. Miley Cyrus in the show.
So yeah, we should just bring up the guest appearance. It's nothing major. Whatever. She's there for a few episodes.
This brings us though to the last and final season of 2.5 Men. So I'm gonna do the good old bring this up on Wiki. Up to this point, Dan, thoughts on the Kutcher years? The first 3 years of Kutcher.
It was interesting. Different show. I like the new character introductions. I hate the goodbyes. They never really. No one's of value. If you show up in the show, it's cool that you show up, and then it's almost as if Chuck Lorre wants us to forget about that as soon as they show up. He's like, I brought them there just so that we got more viewers for this month, and then all of a sudden, bing, they're good. Don't think about them anymore. They're gone. Goodbye.
It's true.
See you
That's
later.
actually a good point. It's all the views for that, isn't it? It makes sense. They have the guest spots. They have the random 1 to 2 episode parters of, past characters that might seem relevant to people who care. That's true. At the end of season 11, actually, Kate is in town. She's the girl that Walden lied to about his identity, and they decide to kind of maybe get back together. But as she's there, this other girl appears out of nowhere and is played by Mila Kunis, who's obviously a famous actress and Ashton Kutcher's real-life wife, and they hit it off, and then they don't get together. Or, I don't know, is she a lesbian or something? I don't know.
I can't remember what happened, but it doesn't really matter because, like we said, Chuck Lorre doesn't want you to care about it. He just wants you to be shocked by them being there and then drop them off the map. Drop them off a fucking cliff. That's it. That's all this show's about.
And that brings us to season 12. And season 12 opens up with awful jokes about John Cryer's character of Ducky in the movie Pretty in Pink, where they're dressed up as characters for Halloween, and he's dressed up as his own character, and they keep making stupid Molly Ringwald jokes, and I was doing I was coughing the whole time. It was gross.
It was pretty shitty.
And at this point, though, Walden himself actually has he has a medical emergency, and he realizes that, life is short, and he decides that he wants to adopt a child.
And that brings us to pretty much the only thing that's important about season 12 is the fact that the whole season is about Walden adopting a kid. Now, in order to adopt a kid, he has to have a spouse. So he ends up marrying Alan.
They Chuck and Larry it. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Again, I brought up Sandler earlier. I feel like there's more strains of Sandler in the show, dude. There's more strains of Sandler.
There's always a little bit more Sandler in 2.5 Men.
Yeah, so the first couple episodes are essentially about wanting to adopt, and then the idea of, Walden and Alan having to get married. And then there's a lot of, gay couple jokes, a lot of stupid shit that goes on. And it's not funny. None of it's funny.
It doesn't matter, but it makes Alan a little bit more likable because his I'd rather hear him give parenthood advice than I would see him fuck up his life.
That's
it's
true.
Just easier to watch. It's still shitty, but it's better to watch. Now, nothing really happens. They end up getting a kid. There's some drama involved, of course, because nothing good ever happens without drama involved.
Well, and that's where Alan fucks everything up too again, because the reason they can get a kid is they have to go through this woman named as Miss McMartin, which is their like social worker, and as they're adopting this child,
both Alan and Kutcher end up fucking her.
Exactly. It's.
So she naturally finds out that they aren't gay, has to keep this secret in order for them to keep their kid. They do end up keeping the kid, and next thing you know, we're at the fucking end of we're at the last season.
Yeah, they've adopted this kid Lewis, and they've spent this season only has 16 episodes. It's one of the shortest seasons.
They spent about 3/4 of the season though with Lewis and getting to know Lewis and who's Lewis and Lewis, whatever.
In all fairness, I find that like when they brought it back to like the idea of 2.5 men, 2 guys taking care of a kid, it was an okay show. Like it wasn't
almost a little bit. It was better. Like we're saying okay because we're comparing it.
Well, you have to realize that at this point we've seen over 200 episodes of this shitty show, and these are maybe roughly 12 of the best ones.
Yeah.
So they have this thing where they kind of bring it back to basics in a way that isn't super ham-fisted, because they've done these stupid seasons where they restart everything and it's like fucking deja vu. But at this point, Walden's a new character. Things are different. They adopt a kid, and they're kind of this married couple, and it's still fucking dumb, but it works a bit better. It does. Yeah. And that's kind of where things end, because at this point, it gets to the point where Walden is actually dating the social worker, because I guess why not? And Alan's still with Lindsay, because they're both kind of just the worst people, and they fit together, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I do kind of like the adoption thing. I would say it's one of the better seasons, to be honest.
And then here we are at the last episode.
Oh, I gotta eat this. It brings a sour taste. It makes me want to get a little sick.
What they do in the last episode, folks, is they bring back Jake. They make fun of
by the way,
Charlie Sheen in real life.
You got my cash there, dude?
Yeah, I do.
Early in season 9, I made a bet with Dan saying if Jake, season I guess 11, if Jake came back, he'd give me $2.50, $2.50, if you will. So we're just gonna make that exchange right now.
I'm short 5 cents, bud. Sorry. Short about half a dime.
You're gonna forget that back, but I'll accept this for now. Anyways, so Jake does come back. That's probably, you said, that was probably like, God, fuck this show. Okay, we'll run a quick synopsis of what happens in the last episode. The whole thing is based on the idea of Charlie is actually alive the entire time. And so it comes to fruition that Rose, even though she may have tortured Charlie or whatever in this weird animated montage of them in Paris, she actually took him back to Miami, and has tied him up in like a Hannibal Lecter-like well, and has been keeping him there for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And it gets to the point where he actually escapes and collects all this money from his past jingle writing, and is going to spread the wealth to those who deserve it, but punish those who don't. Yeah. Those being Alan and Walden, because Rose has told him about Walden and doesn't want him to take his place and all this.
So there's basically a running gag. Charlie's alive. He's giving money to the people he cares about. He wants to go and kill Alan and Walden.
It's so stupid. And the whole time they make references, they do a lot of like the look at the camera fourth wall gags here and there.
They break the wall. They make fun of Charlie Sheen. That's the whole fucking episode. And at the end of the episode, the most cringeworthy bullshit happens is a piano is being airlifted while Kutcher and Alan are sitting on the JIT deck enjoying a beer.
Because they're fearing Charlie the whole time being alive, because as they walk around, all the set pieces, they see like Charlie threatening them, and they're like, oh, he can't actually be alive, can he?
Yeah.
And the last fucking scene is the back of a fake Charlie Sheen. It's definitely not him. It's just like a look-alike. Mm-hmm. Walking into his Malibu house, and as he walks in, an aircrafted piano drops on him, crushes him to death. Then the camera zooms out, reveals a set, and Chuck Lorre is sitting in a director's chair, stares at the camera, and says, winning.
And then another piano, which doesn't make any sense, crushes Chuck Lorre, thus ending our 2.5 Men career, folks.
He fucking kills Charlie Sheen. Like, I almost feel bad for Sheen at this point, dude. I really kind of do.
I don't think that he cares as much.
It's stupid, though. They made fun of the guy. The show is so mean-spirited.
Oh, yeah, they fucking made fun of the guy who made the show good. Or, half decent. Or got those 15 million viewers per episode.
And ratings went lower and lower as the seasons progressed. The first, when the season came back, season 9, a lot of people watched to see what Kutcher was like or whatever. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it just... I mean, I didn't think Kutcher was that bad, but he wasn't as interesting or shocking as Sheen, right?
Right. It was, Sheen. Sheen was the show.
Exactly. He was. That was what people tuned in for, and Alan was, the supporting character. Eventually won an Emmy fucking for best lead actor in a comedy series.
2. Alan won the lead actor and supporting actor.
It actually blows my mind that that's a real thing, but that did happen.
But that's really it, folks. We couldn't believe we couldn't believe we had done it when we finished the last episode.
I have one last question for you, man. Do you enjoy the Kutcher years or the Sheen years more?
Sheen.
Sheen? Fair enough, man. I think the only thing that does it for me for the Kutcher years is that Kutcher's actually a likable character in the last season. He's not a bad guy. He just wants to help this kid, which I think is maybe what they tried to go with Sheen in the first season, but as the show progressed, they just made him a bigger and bigger scumbag.
Right.
And in this season, there's at least one good-hearted person, which makes me feel a bit better that I just didn't watch some disgusting scum for my entire summer. Right. I only watched 99.9% of it.
Right.
So I'm gonna take that as that's what I'm taking away from this.
All right, I think it's time to leave it at that, folks.
It's been a long ride. We had this dumb fucking idea a month ago to watch all 12 seasons of 2.5 Men, and we were able to complete it. It was kind of an idea that we maybe want to expand on to a degree with doing things we actually like. Maybe series that are maybe a little bit more interesting. We didn't really know what we were expecting with 2.5 Men. I grew to just kind of like the idea of sitting down, having a drink, hanging and watching something, even though it was awful. Or actually later on, we would go mobile and play Pokemon Go for 8 hours while we watched it on Daniel's laptop. Also fun.
Now we're just happy to be done and doing some stuff we like. I mean, we did this for the fans. We did this for you guys.
This is for you guys. We have some pretty cool stuff coming up. Also, our first ever Patreon review will be coming in a couple weeks. That's how we're probably going to close out season 2 here. This 3-part 2.5 Men series was just kind of a side thing, but also something we want to do again to some degree. So we hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to check us out on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, not Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe to any RSS feed, all that stuff. If you want to hear more about us, more about the second viewing, if this is your first time listening, we really appreciate it. Be sure to check out some past podcasts. And, well, I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
Shaka bra,
folks. Take it easy. We'll see you next time.